So, you've bought the new dress, you've been visualizing, doing your affirmations, feeling positive about the new job, only to be turned down again. Or maybe it's the house you're trying to buy and you've been outbid again. So, what is it that's gone wrong? Why is it that everyone seems to be creating all these wonderful opportunities for themselves and you seem to be hitting roadblocks and experiencing failure? And I understand fully that when something doesn't go the way you want it to, that it can feel like you're failing at this manifesting game, especially when your friends with these opportunities aren't even actively doing these manifesting things, right? So, how is it that you're doing all the things and you have the special sauce and yet it's not working for you? And I totally get how frustrating this feels. We've been conditioned to believe that manifestation is for special people and special things, those luxury items, that it isn't for us ordinary mortals living an ordinary life who just want to make things a little better. This couldn't be further from the truth. It is so important for you to know that you are always creating 24/7, in fact. It isn't something that you turn on and off. It is all of the universal laws in action all the time, and they apply all the time. So, before we even explore your successes with key events in your life, you need to understand the new manifestation paradigm. Because when you understand the correct way to create in your life, not only will you see that everything else you've been taught has been wrong, but you'll finally understand the powerful saying of everything happens for you and not to you. You know, that annoying saying that all the gurus say, and we chant it right back, but we don't actually fully grasp it in the heat of the moment. That moment where everything is falling apart and we get annoyed with the universe for not giving us a hand and not doing it for us. You know, you know the kind of moments I'm talking about. We have all had them. So, now that you know that manifestation is indeed happening all the time, hopefully you can now realize that maybe you've been unconsciously creating for a long time. You see, you are responsible for everything you do have, but also for everything that you don't have in your life right now. And whilst that may feel confronting, I say it not to trigger shame, but to empower you. It needs to be heard as a powerful wake up call. And as soon as you realize and fully embody that you are the ultimate creator within your life, that you are in the driver's seat, that the universe is your co-creator, they are your GPS, so to speak, then everything in your life will start to shift. Because in that moment, when you step into the driver's seat of your life, you get to choose what you want to create. You get to set the destination multiple times a day, if you like, right? So if we roll with this metaphor, you're creating all day, every day, and that means navigating to your differing destinations multiple times per day. And part of the journey of being the driver, the ultimate creator in your life, is that you get to experience different terrains and environments. And of course, all the other drivers in their car. And you have to trust that the GPS, that your team in spirit is indeed navigating you correctly. You also get to choose if you want to deter from the navigation. That is your free will after all. But the experience of the terrain within this metaphor is you preparing for your job interview. It's dating, it's putting yourself out there for that promotion. It's also all the mundane things, choosing to be healthy, choosing to exercise, choosing to eat well. And this is an appropriate moment for a slight segue, but Spirit keeps bringing up the importance of our physical health. In almost all of the medical intuitive reads that I do, they keep referring to people needing to clean up their blood because our blood is our immunity. And that means lowering your fats, getting more oxygen in, better nutrition, getting some of the toxins out. And from the perspective of what we're discussing today, our bodies are a conduit for what we are calling in. The healthier our physical self can be, the stronger our immunity is. The healthier, in turn, our energetic bodies are and our connection to our own intuition. So think of it this way. If you're driving with a dirty windshield, even the best GPS can't help you see clearly. That is what poor health does to your intuition. When our energetic bodies are light and clear, this is what is referred to as raising your vibration. So we can vibrate higher and at a frequency match for what we are calling in. I'm going to go deeper into this in another episode, maybe the next episode, which will be a couple weeks away. But essentially, our energetic bodies hold our thought fields, our emotional fields, our higher spiritual layers, and of course, the energetic resonance of our physical body. This is why I'm so passionate about what Spirit keeps sharing with me about the new manifestation paradigm. It is not a special process. It is not an external process that means, vision boards and affirmations and sending things away. You must stop putting the responsibility onto the universe to deliver things for you. And in order for you to create the life that you desire, you must first realize that you are indeed the creator. When it stops being this elusive magical practice that you believe only applies to some and not to others, or requires magical chance on full moons, and it starts becoming about the internal healing work, everything you are wanting to bring into your life will finally come to fruition. Honestly, I probably shouldn't even be referring to it as manifesting because this new paradigm, it is so much more. It's your growth. It's your own transformation. You getting aligned with your soul purpose and ultimately becoming the best version of yourself. When you focus on your healing, you are rewiring and expanding your connection to spirit. This is how you make real shifts to your mindset, to your values, to your habits, and energetically to your frequency. I went deep into this, which I've called the mastery method, in last week's episode. That's episode 39. So definitely listen to that first if you haven't already. But just to recap briefly, the mastery method is essentially the new manifestation paradigm. It is healing your inner self, your shadow, your inner child, ancestral, and past life wounds, for example. It is rewiring your subconscious to clear out what no longer serves and rewire what you are calling in. And it is expanding your energy consciousness to strengthen your intuition and your connection to spirit. When you focus on creating using this method, you inherently become a vibrational match to your manifestation. And those jobs, the houses, that beautiful partner, honestly, guys, it becomes an effortless byproduct of that work. This is why your own intuition, your own connection to spirit is so important. Because when you start putting these elements into practice, you'll develop a deeper connection and understanding with the journey of what you are creating and how things will turn out, whether that is how we wanted them to be or not. Now, I've shared this story before more than once, so I'm not going to go too deep into it here today. But for those that are new or who haven't heard that episode, when I was selling my business, I knew that it would sell. I knew it deep into my core. What I didn't know was to who and when. So my own journey was of healing, of rewiring, and expanding. I knew the outcome. I needed to heal my own internal BS to truly allow the biz to shine and sell. I needed to rewire certain elements so that I could become a match to the sale, and I needed to expand so that I could pay attention to the guidance from spirit, not necessarily the intuition I was picking up from the sellers. When all of this came together, I kid you not, the sale happened within a month after 2 years. So there is very clear evidence repeatedly within my own life of all of these pieces coming together and an effortless outcome, the manifestation being created. Now, the same goes for when buying my home. This one was a lot easier for me to create because I'd previously bought investment properties, and for me, the purchase of a house was more of a numbers game. I wanted a house that I loved, but I wasn't as emotionally vested in it as I was with the business sale. I already had the expansion piece because I had intuited the inside of the house for many months prior. I then worked on my healing to bring up my level of trust. And honestly, I really only got outbid one other time because I'd only put one other offer in on another house. I intuitively knew that all of the houses that I was looking at, they weren't ours. And the moment, I kid you not, the moment I stepped foot through the front door of my home for the first time, the second I walked in, I knew that it was the house that I had been intuiting. And a few short weeks later, that house was mine. So let's get to the heart of what we are here for today. And you now have an understanding of the new transformative manifestation paradigm, the mastery method. You are aware of the three key elements, that is healing, rewiring, and expanding. These are all internal practices. You're actively working on bringing forth the things that you want in your life, and you're using this method. You're doing the healing, you're doing the rewiring, you're doing the expanding, and that job interview you applied for wasn't successful. The promotion you had your heart set on, you were passed up for. The house you've been dreaming about, you were outbid. So what's going on? The old way didn't work. Now you're trying my new way and it's still not working. Or is it? It is so easy for us to fall into the trap of believing that we've failed when the thing we were hoping for hasn't come to pass. And believe me, I went through this plenty of times when navigating the sale of the business. It's easy to believe that all our hard work has been for nothing, that the universe has indeed let us down yet again. And the truth of the matter is that if we believe that the universe has let us down, then we haven't fully stepped into the driver's seat of our lives. We haven't fully paid attention to Spirit's navigation, and we haven't fully healed, reprogrammed, or expanded. You only fail when you stop, period. When you give up entirely, only then is it failure. Otherwise, when you haven't been successful in bringing forth whatever it is you are calling in, the key to remember is that you haven't been successful yet. That this particular instant didn't work out, but that it's still very much on its way. The universe is always our co-creator. Our higher self and team in spirit know our soul path and purpose. So that's always going to be our true north. The growth you are experiencing by putting the effort into becoming a vibrational match with this new job opportunity, it's not going unnoticed. But it is always this or something better. We must focus on the essence of what that job, that partner, that house embodies for us, and not so much on the actual item itself. When you operate this way, you'll understand that you haven't failed. It just hasn't come through yet. It's also a combination of our healing, rewiring, and expanding that helps navigate the yet. Because when will it be our turn? How long should you persist for? And when do you ultimately decide that it's time to pivot? You know, how long do you keep listening to the GPS while sitting in traffic that isn't moving because it hasn't automatically updated a redirect for you? Sometimes we need to miss opportunities so that we have the opportunity to reflect on it and implement changes for the next round in order to be successful. This is a key part of the healing element, and it doesn't have to be anything woo or spiritual. It literally can just be a personal reflection of how you conducted yourself. What could you have answered better? Did you allow enough time to get to the meeting? Were you flustered when you got there? You know, just normal personal reflection and development. Other times, opportunities will be missed because the universe is indeed redirecting you. It's forcing you to expand your horizons and think a little bigger and broader so that you pivot in the correct direction. Say this job that you were interested in was located in the CBD, but where you really needed to be in order to expand your soul's potential the most was somewhere else, in the suburbs, let's say. Then what might happen is that you could be passed up on the job position, but the company may have another opening where you're actually supposed to be, and you end up securing that position. Same with buying a house. It's easy to be outbid and priced out where you want to be. And what that does is force you to look a little beyond where you are currently searching for something that might ultimately be better for you. Because when rates go up or the weather changes, you are in a situation, an environment that works best for you. Can you push shit up a hill and extend yourself and force yourself into somewhere that isn't quite right? Of course, people do it all the time. And then the roof leaks, and then the floor creaks, and then there is this problem and that problem, and it all becomes a chore. So, let's talk about navigating this powerful yet. Is it my turn yet? How long do you persevere before you pivot? Honestly, how long's a piece of string? The answer to that is different for everyone. What I do know unequivocally is that the more you heal, the more you reprogram, the faster things will happen for you. And whilst timing can vary, here's what I tell my clients. If your gut feeling remains strong and you're still getting synchronicities, then keep going. If you feel relief when you think about letting it go, that's your answer. And if you're forcing it out of fear rather than faith, then it's time to reassess. It is so important to have a deep connection to your spirit team. That is through your own intuition and a strong level of trust and faith that your journey will always deliver you to where you are meant to be. And that failure really only happens when you give up and when you stop. Signs to watch out for when protecting and redirecting yourself include repeating scenarios. Things that you had a good feeling about, that were good on paper, that should have come to pass. Kind of like when you get confused that something didn't come through. And let me share how this played out in my own life, because understanding the timeline of yet becomes clearer when you see it in action. A few years back, I was applying for a teaching position. It was my intuition that guided me to open the job site, and then I found this position. As soon as I saw the advertisement, I knew that that job was going to be mine. I could feel it in every ounce of my being. I applied, and then I wasn't successful. I, honest to God, was utterly shocked. That's what I'm talking about. That real, what just happened confusion. I asked for feedback and proceeded to work on a few things that I needed to, which essentially was just needing to update a particular qualification. Then, not 2 months later, the same position, but in another location, was advertised. I applied, and this time I was successful. And then I reached out to the team at the original location because it was more convenient for me. And I let them know that I had been hired. And lo and behold, I was immediately kind of snuck away and transferred over to them. When you get these kind of strong signs, it is a strong clue that you need to make some modifications on your end. You heal, you rewire, you expand. Especially if you can't shake the gut feel that, like in my example, this position was meant for me. This is why you need to have that intuitive piece developed. Now, look at the essence of what it is that you are calling in. What's in the heart of it as part of your pivot and redirect? For me, I knew that I was buying a house, for example, and I was actively searching and inspecting until that was successful, and that process took 3 months. I knew my business was going to sell, but I got emotional, I got annoyed, and it took me a long time to heal, rewire, and expand. But I never lost the feeling that it would ultimately sell, and it took 2 years. Same with the teaching position. I knew that was going to be mine. I updated my qualification, I followed the feedback, and 3 to 4 months later, or something like that, that job was mine. Another thing to consider is those sliding doors moments. You know, like when you hit every red light or somebody just keeps cutting you off, even if you're cruising along without any issues. In those moments, the universe isn't punishing you. I like to think that it's giving you time. Time to recalibrate your energy. Time to miss an accident up ahead. Time for something better to align. The universe is actually showing you that something is a little off, something is out of alignment. And this could be as simple as your own emotional state. Because let's be real, the first thing most of us do when we experience getting stuck in every single red light is get frustrated. So, Spirit wants you to know that you are indeed on the right track. And in those moments, looking at where you need to manage your internal well being better is key. Navigating the protection redirection path really boils down to a lot of trust. Trust in yourself that you can navigate something that isn't quite what you thought it was, and trust in your team in spirit that you will ultimately get to where you are going and you will pay attention to them. Now, irrespective of the reason why you are not successful this time, I want to stress that it is absolutely okay for you to grieve that rejection, that it is okay to be upset when the role you wanted didn't come through or the offer on the house fell through. Part of managing your emotional state is processing those feelings. So, I highly encourage you to allow yourself to feel those emotions. Have a little chocolate or something indulgent if that's what you need. Just not too much, because remember what I said earlier, spirit wants us to be healthy. So, allow yourself to feel those emotions, because that process moves you through them rather than you staying stuck in that emotional state. Another key layer to trust is trusting the timing, and I know that can be hard. Sometimes divine timing is a key driver behind our redirection. And this doesn't mean you're on the wrong path or that you're heading the wrong way at all. It just means that there's a few bigger puzzle pieces at play with intersecting energies that need to be considered. And it will usually only be after the fact that you can look back and recognize the timing aspect. And I see that a lot with couples. I've had that experience myself in my own relationship. It very much is the energy of both parties that is at play if you're creating something together. Lastly, and most importantly, I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. I'm here for you in learning to trust your own guidance and intuition. But know that it is absolutely okay for you to seek the support of an intuitive like myself for insights on your bigger picture. This support can be invaluable when it comes to looking at what might need to be healed or rewired in order for you to bring the job, the house, the partner through quicker. But it can also give insights into other elements at play that might not have been considered. For example, a lady that I read for just the other week was passed over for a position, like a job position. And what Spirit had to say was that the role would have boxed her in too much. It was too rigid for her, and she wouldn't have been able to creatively express her talents in a way that ultimately suited her really well. So, her missing out on this job was a great example of divine protection. Spirit then offered her some insights into redirecting her so that she could be successful in securing the next position she applied for. My one-to-one intuitive transformations are available for you to book. I only have a limited number of places available. So if you need intuitive guidance on an area of your life that you are stuck with, that keeps repeating, that you are finally ready to break free from, then I invite you to book in a session. The link is in the show notes. Together, we'll connect with your team in spirit and channel a specific blueprint just for you that will help you become the ultimate creator of your life.